The very first thing after registration that you're going to want to do is download the e-applications, and these are how you will run your quotes and get the quoting software. You want to go onto the online applications and click on Underage Health. Okay, you'll notice that there are two icons. You're going to want to download both of them. The reason why there are two is because this one here that lists the Health Saver Plus, this was the original product, and it is a Windows-based product. So if you have a Mac, you will not be able to support this, this quoting software. It would be best if you had a desktop, or maybe you picked up an inexpensive laptop, or even sometimes the Mac has that extension software that you can use where you can download these e-apps. The other thing too is that sometimes, depending on your antivirus software, it may think it's a virus. It is not. If it blocks you from downloading it, you can just disable your software, your antivirus software, download the e-apps, and then enable it right away. It only takes a couple of minutes. So the first one would be for the Health Saver Plus. The second one here is for the Health Choice Select. This is a newer product that was released at the beginning of this year. So if you want to quote that one, that plan, and Todd will go into the differences of those two plans later on during this call, you're going to want to download both of these. When you're finished downloading them, excuse my busy screen here that I'm going to go to, they will then appear on your desktop. So here's the one, here's the other. When you pull it up, I'm just going to pull this one up here. This is what it will look like. When you go into this screen, when it first pops up, it's going to ask you to enter your agent number. That would be the number that you received on your letter. It would start with a 658. So you would register yourself on here. You're going to have to do it twice for both applications. You're going to want to make sure that you put your information in, because when you submit this e-application, your name and your agent number are going to appear on the transmittal. So you want to make sure that all of that information is in there, as you know, put in as much as it asks for. Don't take any shortcuts on it, because we want to make sure that that account's getting assigned to you and you're getting the commission that you've earned. And again, Todd will go through this quoting software. I just wanted to give you kind of an idea of what it's going to look like and what would come next. So if you have any questions on that, there is a troubleshooting phone number that you can call. You can try calling me first, keeping in mind that I'm not an IT girl, but I will troubleshoot with you and kind of go through some of the maybe basic issues to see if we can't fix the problem first. But if not, then you can contact New Era directly, or try some of these other quick fixes that are listed down here. The second piece that I wanted to show you is for product brochures. If you need to get a PDF of a product or a rate sheet, or you want to print an application, you would go up here to Sales Forms, select the company, and whichever product you want, you can get a product brochure. So I'm going to select the Health Saver 3. For Pennsylvania, and it will provide me with copies of an application. I can get the product brochure here, save it, email it. If I'm presenting to somebody over the phone, I can bring this up and review the brochure with whomever I'm speaking with. Outline of coverage, your rate sheet, this underwriting guide here. This will be your Bible. You will want to save this on your desktop. You may also want to print a copy if you do a lot of person-to-person sales and not telesales. This is going to list for you all of the conditions that either are not approved for this plan, or maybe for certain products there are some occupations that are not approved for this product. Height and weight tables, just some underwriting tips and procedures. And I don't mean to make anybody dizzy here going through this, but I just kind of wanted to get down to, so here's a list of the unacceptable conditions for this plan. Anybody that has any of these would not be eligible. It would be an automatic decline. So it's important to gather as much information about your prospect and your client prior to pitching them the plan. You want to make sure they qualify for it before they fall in love with it. So then it'll also go through all the other conditions, maybe ones where there would be a rate up. 1 point is equal to 15% increase in the premium. So this will take you through that also. So this is a really good tool to review. It's just recently updated. Save that to your desktop, or like I said, go ahead, print out a copy and carry that with you. The rate sheets are in here. I would not recommend using them unless you absolutely have to. Agents typically find them to be difficult to use. You can use your quoting software here and for any state. So say you're only appointed in Pennsylvania right now. If you wanted to run somebody a quote for another state, you could still run them a quote. You won't be able to submit an application for them until you're appointed in that state, but you can still play around with it and get them rates, for any state that you're looking for. And this works on or off of a Wi-Fi connection. You can quote anybody. You can take an application. When you are off of a wireless connection, you just cannot submit an application until you are on a wireless connection. Any questions about any of this so far?
Don't be shy, guys. If you want to ask questions, you can either raise your hand or you can just type it in and I'll get Terry to, we have a question.
Okay.
I'm going to unmute Dana. Dana, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Ask Carrie your question.
Okay, my question is, you said we needed to add our writing agent number to the tool, if you want to get a quote, but it's already populated. Is that because I completed the profile?
This is because, yep, there's a number up here because this is Todd's number, so we're using his, so it's already up there.
Okay.
So once you set yourself up and you put your writing number into this system, it'll automatically populate for you.
I just wanted to confirm that. I didn't hear that bit around that. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, let's see if there are, what happened to the question? Ooh. Oh my goodness, I can't find my question. I guess they're gone. Go ahead, Carrie.
Okay.
Oh, here it is. Nancy asks if we can order brochures to be sent to us at no cost.
Anytime you need any supplies, hard copy brochures, you can email me or call me and I will send them out. So all product brochures come directly from our office, not from New Era Life. They come from America's Benefit. So if there's a specific process that you want followed, if it's different than someone just calling and getting in touch with me directly, you can let us know, but I will mail them all out. Everybody gets a starter pack. What I do is I send out a starter pack of brochures, and it includes 5 of each product that's available in your state. And then if you need any more after that, just, get in touch.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. So I just use the Health Saver 3 as an example here, but any of the products that are available, you can pull up and get product brochures for. Applications, the only time you're really going to need a paper application is if, if you prefer to write it down and then enter it into the electronic system later. Some people, are old school like that. They like to keep the paper. Paper applications are frowned upon only because you'll see in a minute, I'll show you where you can track your pending business and your commission statements. If you do a paper application, you're never going to be able to view it online. Everything's going to be a manual process. You're going to have to call the insurance company. Did you receive my application? What is the status? Did you get the payment? It's just much easier to do it electronically. It's faster and you can track it. So
Carrie, are you able, as an agent, are we able to take a paper application and then come back and enter that electronically into our portals?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, there you go.
Absolutely.
See if there's another question, I think maybe.
Yeah, if you're not comfortable doing it right over the phone, because you can just pull up the software while you're talking with a client over the phone. Hey, that quote looks great. I think that's going to work for my family. You know, let's go ahead and take that application. And like I said, Todd will show you. He'll go through this quoting, and then there'll be a new button that'll say Start Application, and you can just take it right over the phone. And once you submit it, you'll be able to go into this system here and print it out. But some people, you know, they like to have that paper application and then take their time to enter it in. You know, it's really just whatever your preference is and what your selling method is and what you're used to.
There are some more questions, and Todd may be getting into these, so if that's the case, then we'll just table them. DJ is asking, what does the client need to provide to show member of the Christian faith?
He will get into that.
Okay. And Nate asks what solutions there are for the Mac users. Are they in the troubleshooting details, Carrie?
I would say to have that individual maybe call me directly.
Okay. And Robin, I got your message, and you are in the process of, Tish is in the process of getting that contracting completed. So that is it for the questions.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to move away from then obtaining product brochures and outlines of coverage. And then I'm going to move over here to the next step, which would be pending business. So once you submit your application, it's going to appear in the pending business. So if you say, oh, did my application go in? Well, you just go into your pending business. Your name will be listed here, and your client's name will be listed underneath. I don't necessarily want to click down on here to reveal anybody's privacy, but your name will be listed, your client's name, their ID number, and what the status is. Was it received? Are they waiting for a telephone interview? Are they waiting for the payment? So it will tell you what is happening, and then it'll tell you whenever it's been approved or whenever the bank draft has gone through also.
Okay.
Okay, policy notifications. This is another one to check, daily, weekly, however you work your business. This will tell you, again, if you do this click down menu here, it will show you a list of clients perhaps that maybe their coverage lapsed, or they did not make their premium, or they canceled, or they had a rate increase. This would all be listed here under this drop-down menu. Yeah, I'm just trying to decide. It's probably not going to be a good idea to click down on that, huh? And then here your commission statements will be listed. Commissions are paid out as long as the business is in and paid and issued by 5 o'clock on Friday. Commissions will appear, will be deposited on Tuesday. So you'll be able to view your commission statement on a Monday, and it'll appear in your bank on Tuesday. Okay, I'm going to go up to, here's some phone numbers for contacting the insurance company for some specific questions. We don't want to call underwriting to check status of applications. You will be able to view that status, like we just said, in your pending business. If something seems like it's taking a long time, you can get in touch with me or send me an email, and I'll be glad to reach out and find out what's going on for you. Okay, I want to go back here to the home page, which they've just recently changed this around a little bit on me, so bear with me. Okay, Just wanted to mention a couple of other things here about Philadelphia American. They have a leads and advertisement cash bonus program where you can earn marketing dollars and lead dollars for writing business. So you get $25 worth of cash credits for every $5,000 of annual premium, and it is paid out monthly every 4 weeks on the Thursday following the 4th week of production. Just gives you an idea, you know, just to earn a little bit of extra money. It's an ongoing contest. It never ends. So this is, you know, a good way to earn a little bit of extra cash. They also, right now, it's about to end, but every Christmas they do a nice Christmas bonus program. My computer's a little slow today.
Mm-hmm.
A nice Christmas bonus program here that you can earn from $250 to $1,000, and then an additional $500 for the top bonus. It always tells you what percentage of qualification credits that you have towards whatever policies you write. So they always run these really nice programs. There's a leaders conference in Iowa not Iowa, that wouldn't be very exciting. Ireland is a lot more exciting because that's where they're going. We're going to Ireland in April. So they have some really first-class trips, all expense paid. They give you extra spending money for you and your spouse, and there's not a lot of work. There's a lot more play. But anyway, everybody really looks forward to these trips. So they put on some really good ones. Last year was in Vancouver. So just to let you know that they really, you know, they value all of their agents, and they're really small, you know, they have a family feel. This company has a family feel to them. So, you know, we know them personally. We talk to them daily. You know, we just have a really good relationship, and they really do work for you, the agent. There's not much more.
Lucrative bonuses for sure.
What's that?
I said that it looks like some lucrative bonuses for sure.
Yeah, they really are. They do an awesome job. We're, you know, couldn't be happier with the service that we receive from them and the attention, and you know, there's just never a time where we feel like we're not getting what we need from them. Okay, so from this site, that's really all that I have to go over from this particular one. I was just going to hop over to our site here real quick before we turn the reins over to Todd, and that would be to americasbenefit.com. This would have also been in the welcome email from me and in your new agent packet as well. Really sending you here to this agent office, which when you click on here, it would be password protected. The username is benefit with a capital B, and the password is benefit with a lowercase b. If you go into this website, again, there'll be some other things that you can obtain from the Philadelphia American site, the underwriting guide. There's a product availability grid on here that shows you in which state the product is available. I believe we have product in 26 states now. So you can print that off or save that to your computer. There's some PowerPoint presentations in here of the product, some recorded trainings. This is a nice piece here. I included this in your folders. This goes over some of the added benefits to the plan that everybody gets. They receive this unlimited teledoc usage at no cost to them. There's this Caris Group 360. They will negotiate prices for, if a client wanted to pay a cash price for something, they will negotiate for them. If they were to have maybe an expensive elective surgery, they'll negotiate on the back end for them for anything that's above $1,500. And they'll also call around to facilities, say someone wanted to get lab work and they wanted to pay cash for lab work to really get the most out of their plan, the healthcare navigator will look around in their zip code and tell them where the best place to go for their services would be, and they can even schedule them an appointment at that time also. There's the Script Save discount card that comes with the plan. There are prescription benefits, and Todd will get into that, but this is a discount program that they can use in conjunction. And then just a reminder to the policyholder about the PHCS multi-plan network discount and the advantage of using a network provider. So that's a nice piece to either give to your prospect along with a product brochure. And then I just want to point out a couple other things here for you. There's an online presentation for the Pro-Life Health Plan on how to sell. Excuse me. There's a letter here that's just real basic, and you can customize it for yourself. Kind of lets the client know what happens next after they submit their application, and just some important things for them to know. Include their quote at the bottom, so it's really just a template for you to use. You can take a look at this stuff in the free time that everybody has right now. And then claim forms. We don't really get involved in the claims process too often. I know some agents like to provide that as a service to their clients. You can always obtain claim forms on this website for your client, and claim filing instructions also are listed on here for each product. Recorded training sessions. I did an underwriting tips and procedures about a month ago for a small group. This is a good one if you wanted to just kind of get an idea of some things to look out for, things to avoid that would make your applications run smoothly. It's just maybe about a half hour long, but if you have the time, I would check into that. Healthcare Blue Book just gives you average prices of procedures in your area, penalty calculators. There's just some random things in here, and some claim examples too that you can review to see how the plan works. Some doctor's visits, prescriptions, just to kind of show your client some live examples of how claims have been processed using this plan. Any questions here?
Don't believe so. Let's see. Okay, let's see here. Kim is asking if you can provide your contact information.
Yep, I can. So the best number to reach me would be at 724-884-1498. And my email is closego, that's L-O, S as in Sam, E, G as in George, O, at americasbenefit.com.
I will make sure everyone gets that. And Nancy has a question. Does the application work on an iPad?
No, it would not, because
okay.
that's an Apple. I know that they are working on extending the products to work on the Mac platform. I don't know how close they are.
Gotcha.
But as of right now, unfortunately, they do not.
Okay. And all right. Those are all the questions for now.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'm, unless there's anything else, I'm going to hand it back over to you, Deb, and
right.
Todd can take over.
I am going to hand it over to Todd and make him a presenter. Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate the information. And welcome, Todd.
We can't hear him.
No, his phone is, there.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like a Verizon commercial almost every day.
Right.
All right. So, you know, great job, Carrie. Thank God we have you. The only question I have, Carrie, did everybody get a copy of this presentation? That is the question I have.
Oh,
This
from
presentation.
Carrie?
I'm sorry?
Which presentation are you referring to?
The Pro-Life Health Plan presentation. Can you see it on my screen or no?
No, we
Okay.
haven't made, I don't think we've taken you over yet.
Okay, well, let's get me here.
Oh, no, I can see it.
Oh, there you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
right, so-
No, they did not. But they're
Okay.
going to have to go to the America's Benefit website and download it because the file is too large.
All right, so what I'm going to do is let's pull up that again and point that out right here. All right, so go right to this here and download that. Another thing that I would recommend is, you know, listening to these presentations, particularly this one. Now, granted, you know, everything changes and morphs and gets better over time, but this gives you a real good outline of, you know, how to kind of go through the presentation, some of the highlights and key points. Most of you on the call, I believe, have, you know, attended one of these webinars where I kind of went through all of this, right? You know, talking about Obamacare and the, you know, pointing out the, you know, expensive nature of it and some of the ludicrous benefits that are in there, that it's guaranteed issue, right? And we talk
Right.
about how we get you out of the penalty by joining a Christian sharing. And I remember just recently one of you had asked a question about what are the qualifications to join that Christian sharing ministry. It's basically two-part, right? I believe in Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, and two, I'm non-tobacco. That's it. All right? So
Todd, that's from the, they signed that attestation form, correct?
oh yeah,
Or
we
is-
have them sign that. That doesn't go anywhere. That's something for, you know, you as the agent to just keep in your file. You know, more of a, you know, protect your own rear end type of thing.
Right.
But, you know, as far as Christian ministries, you know, that's what they're looking for, right? Non-tobacco and that you believe in Jesus. Now, if the person says, oh yeah, I believe in Jesus, but I haven't been to church in 26 years, might not be a great candidate. And that's why we have some alternatives now that are available for folks that aren't Christian, but say maybe Jewish or, you know, use tobacco. And we might touch on that a little bit here at the end of today. But as far as anything that has to do with the insurance, there's nothing you need to do, right? You just do not sign them up for that. That's the key. You provide them the link, you educate them on the process of becoming exempt from the law. You send them to the website for providing the link. You can tell them how to do it, what to do, just don't do it for them. It's billed separately, you know, $45 a unit, right, husband, wife, kids. And then Christian Ministries will send them out a packet on their own. They'll get their, you know, their letter for the IRS and all that stuff at the end of the year. So that's all taken care of there. And they send out a nice monthly newsletter kind of talking about their plan and how it works for people. And that's really the great mechanism here, is that because that's so affordable, and then our plan's affordable because it's underwritten, and the two mesh together very well. And that's what makes this plan so good. Of all the different programs that are out there, MediShare and LibertyShare and all these other sharing programs, they don't even come close to this. The affordability of this, if you're just doing it as a straight, is much better, and the coverage is much better. But if you start adding, you know, the critical illness components in there, it just, you're still so much less expensive and really provide benefits where it's needed most. I'm going to bring up a quick screen here. We used to call this the Total Protection Plan. And when we would talk about this, one of the things that we would highlight is that, you know, not only are premiums increasing and all that stuff, and this is why you're choosing this program, but this screen right here is extremely important. If you want to take a screen capture picture of that, go right ahead. This is the statistics, right? 68% of all hospital confinements are right there. Right? All other procedures are only 18%. So why do we always add the accident and always add the CI to every plan? Right? You think about it, people having heart attacks or cancers, the financial risk of being unable to, work and take care of expenses. Not only are you going to have your deductibles and expenses and travel expenses and child care expenses and loss of income, that's a lot out of pocket. So by having that CI benefit and having a program that's so affordable that you can add $50,000 to CI and still be 40% or 50% less than an ACA plan, really truly does put an awful lot of value for the client and really provides an excellent source of benefits. All right, so first thing is we're going to kind of go over some of the products. The number one product that we are using is this Health Saver. That's the one that the brochure and the presentation is based off of. As you can see, $5 million lifetime maximum. You can choose your deductible of $100, $500, $1,000, or $2,500. We always recommend the $2,500 because most people don't have inpatient hospital stays or surgeries. You have a calendar year max, right, of $100,000, $250,000, or $1 million, and you can choose that all on that the chassis for when you're taking your application, which I'll pull up an application as soon as I get through all these screens. Okay, so if you're loading a new quote, right? All right, so what I'm going to do is, first off, let's just take a peek and see what, two 60-year-old people, a crappy Obamacare plan, like, the cheapest one, you're looking at around $716 a piece, or about $1,450 a month. Carrie had mentioned earlier as well that you could shop other states. The rates are exactly the same, whether you're in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Ohio, Texas, it doesn't matter. So you can just put any zip code in there as long as it's a zip code where you're licensed. So we got husband and wife, let's call them both 60, so 01, 01, 19, what would that be, 60, 57, right, non-tobacco, 5, 10, 150, got a lovely little wife, she just happened to be born on the same day, right, she's 5'5", 125, right, so Health Saver, CI, accident, right, so we always quote it that way. So you'll see here, the first thing that you're going to be choosing is the calendar year max. We always quote the 250. Occasionally I'll bump it up to $1 million, but if they're really, really, really struggling to come up with the money, to be able to afford it, we bump them down to 100. But that's basically going to be refilled every year. So the most it's going to pay out on a calendar year basis is whatever that number is. When you figure the Christian sharing is going to cover 125, we feel the 250 is plenty. And particularly because it's every year, and the Christian sharing is per incident, so you have a lot of coverage there. And just to give you an idea of the cost difference, we typically write the 252 unit $2,500. So that $1,400 plan through UPMC, our 252 unit plan is $540 plus the 90 for Christian sharing. They're at $630. I mean, you're saving these folks, $800 a month. Or $10,000 a year. So one of the people say, oh, your doctor only pays $60 for a doctor visit. Okay, well, the average cost of a doctor visit through our PPO is about $100. But let's say you sat in his office for 3 days and he charged you $1,000, and our plan only paid $60. I'm saving you $10,000 a year, right? So you start to show where that value is, right? Because not only is it more affordable, because we're saving, if you're not going to the doctor and spending money out the wazoo, you're still way better off. We just recently had a claim where a gentleman who messed up his claim so bad, like he did everything wrong that you could do. And he ended up being dinged for about 10 grand for an ER visit. Now he's going to end up getting about 7 of that back, but like I said, he messed up the whole claim. But even at $10,000 out of pocket, I then went to a UPMC plan that he had. And I said, listen, if you had that exact same plan and had the plan that you had with UPMC, not only would your monthly premiums been $1,500 a month, right? So you add that all up. You would have still had your $3,250 deductible. You'd have had your 20% coinsurance. He would have actually been out of pocket $36,000 with the UPMC plan with that claim. Where with us, even though he messed it up, he was out of pocket $14,000. So like you really have to understand those numbers, and it really helps out. And if you ever have any questions with that, please feel free to give me a call. But one of the first things I wanted to show you here was like the difference between like a 250 and a million, right? So you can compare the two, right, by using plan option 2, right? So you can see that the difference is 8104, right? Or if you went to a 100,000, the difference is 5406. So you can show the client there exactly what the difference is while you're designing the program. But typically we offer the 252 unit. That's what almost everybody gets. So you just click plan option 1 and you'd go to next, right? You have the critical illness benefit, which usually I skip first and I always add the accident. So now we have a number, and then I come back to the critical illness. And like even under this scenario, if we added 50,000 for both the husband and the wife, you see you're at 819, right? $90 for the Christian sharing. You're at 909, which is what? $600 a month less than that ACA plan. So you can see there's a ton of value there. Actually, less potential out of pocket, less on your monthly premiums, and getting significant extra benefits that would really help you when you're at your lowest point, when we find out that we're really not immortal and heart attacks and cancers do happen. So going back through the actual policy, so hospital confinement, you're in there for sickness, it's going to pay $3,000 a day. It doesn't care what the bill is, right? If the bill's $2,000 a day, it's going to pay $3,000 a day. If the bill's $4,000 a day, it's going to pay $3,000 a day. So no matter what, it's going to pay $3,000 a day. Now we know what the averages are. The averages in Pennsylvania are about $1,500 a day, and God forbid they're at a $4,000 a day rate, and our plan's only paying $3,000. That's why we have the Christian ministry to cover that hole at the top. Anybody that's listened to the presentation should know that. Deductible waived on your outpatient. The surgical benefit 2 times RBRVS or what Medicare pays. We've gone through that a bunch. The outpatient, this is where everybody gets kind of hung up. And, once they understand that the hospital, surgical, and the catastrophic with the Christian sharing, that their big bills are going to be covered and covered well. The outpatient, when you're telling someone that's going to pay $60 for a doctor visit, and they're used to seeing a doctor visit, somewhere up and around the $240 range. And that's why those claims examples, when you're doing your presentation, are so important. Because you can show, hey, look, a $240 normal doctor bill actually gets repriced to around $100. So our plan pays $60, so $40. Teaching them how to become good consumers by using like the Prater website for MRIs. An MRI is typically billed out at $2,600. The actual repricing through a PPO is around $1,400. Our plan pays $350, so our PPO actually benefits you. But if you shop it out on Prater, you can find that you can get that same MRI done for as little as $350. Mammographies is another big one. People say, oh, I have to get a mammography. Yeah, okay, how much do those cost? And they'll say $400 or $500. Oh yeah, if you go to the hospital, they're probably going to whack it for $400 or $500. But my wife just got hers done for $37. So just by being good consumers again, right? You teach people and give them the tools to show them how they can find this stuff for better and save $10,000 a year on their health insurance. It really becomes a great value add for all of your clients and really makes you shine, right? Prescription benefits, Carrie had mentioned that you get the discount. I don't know if you know this, but 80% of the prescriptions that are in a particular formulary's tier are actually less expensive than the copay, right? So typically you're going to have, it's going to perform better than your copay is with a traditional ACA plan. But even under the oddball scenarios, like a ridiculously expensive medicine, which is an eye drop for dry eyes called Restasis, it bills out at a rack rate of around $1,000. And if you had, UPMC or Highmark or whoever, it's a tier 4 med, so they're only going to reimburse 50%. In other words, you'd be at $500 out of pocket. So I would tell a client, if, first off, you're not on restasis, but if you were, and that happened at some point in time in the future and you were on restasis, you would still owe $500 a month for it. Well, with us, we're going to get you the best cash price, which I believe was like $726 or something like that. And then our plan pays $20. So yeah, it's $200 more. But if I'm still saving you $800 a month, it doesn't matter, right? So again, you highlight that kind of stuff. What I'm going to talk about now is the preventative care. This here is the only benefit that has a waiting period, and it has a 60-day wait. Now on this particular chassis, the Health Saver, which is the one I typically write, it has one preventative benefit a year. You can use that for your PCP annual physical. You can use that for an OBGYN. You can use it for a colonoscopy screening. You can use it for a mammogram. You can use it for what? But you get one, right? So that's where, being able to shop this stuff out becomes important. Now, a colonoscopy screening typically runs around $1,300 or $1,400. So we're going to pay $125. Now, if that screening had a polyp and you had to have that polyp removed, it's now no longer a preventative care screening. It is a surgery. So now this benefit's going to kick in, which is going to pay $3,000. So it's important to understand that. Okay, so that's one of the things that you want to make sure that your client understands so they're not shocked. Now, if they get a polyp and it's removed, that typically bills out around $2,200. In other words, our plan is going to pay so well that they're actually going to get a check for $800. So that's something to consider, and to consider that there's only one. Right? So use it wisely, and then you have your critical illness. So the thing I want to talk about is that there is a separate plan, and it is the Health Choice Select. This is the one that has the gold circle as the icon for the application process. There's several differences with this. The first is it's about 12% more expensive than the Health Saver. Okay? And what do you get for that? Well, the first thing, and the only reason I ever really go to this chassis, is right here under that preventative care. You'll see that there are 3 preventative care benefits instead of 1. It has a specific one for mammograms, plus your regular annual physical or OBGYN visit, plus an additional $300 or $600 benefit for a colonoscopy. Now, when do I use this? Well, if I'm talking to the client and I say, okay, so, how often do you use the doctor? Or do you go often? And the client says, I never go. Man, I haven't been for years. I never go. And I look at the wife and I say, how often do you go? And she says, I haven't been for years. I'm going to the Health Saver. Right? If she says, oh, I go to my OBGYN every year and I get my, pap smears done and I get my mammogram done every single year and it's very important to me, then I'm moving to this chassis. So what's the difference between the two? One, the preventative coverage is a little better over here. You have $100 more in the ER, $25 more in the urgent care, who gives a crap really, and $20 more for the doctor visit. The other difference is that it has no deductible as opposed to the $2,500. So when I quote this, I typically show the 20% first day confinement. Okay? And people say, oh, well, what if I am in the hospital for 1 day? Well, 20% first day confinement, what's that mean? It's going to pay $600 on this for the first day, as opposed to, $3,000 and potentially have a deductible. And people will say, well, maybe I should bump it to 50 or 80 or 100. And I'm just telling you this is how I operate. The cost to go from a 20% first day to a 50% first day. First off, what's the difference in benefit? Well, at 20% you get $600 for the first day. At 50% you're getting $1,500 for the first day. In other words, $900 difference. Well, the cost to go from a 20% to a 50% is about $900. So what's the point, right? Unless you plan on going to the hospital every single year, it's not worth it. So I always just show the 20% one. There's no point in bumping that up. And in all honesty, if you're a good agent, you're going to explain that to the client and show them those numbers so that they get it. But that's just me. Okay, so that's the Health Choice Select. By the way, if anybody has any questions while I'm doing this, please, Deb, stop it, because I'm just moving on, right?
You bet. Do you want, let's see where the questions are, if there are any questions on the actual product right now. There is a question about, oh, Nate says, I see the name Philadelphia American and New Era Life. Who is the insurer? What is the relationship between the two?
They're the same. They're the same company. Right.
And Nate asks why we are not to sign someone up for the Christian Life piece. I work with many clients not comfortable on or who don't even own a computer. Is there a potential risk to agents if we assist through that piece?
Nothing wrong with assisting, right? Just don't do it for them. All right, so if they don't have a computer, you're not doing an online presentation. 95% of my presentations are online. So I just direct them, right? I just don't sign up for them. I say, hey, go to this website, so they're relatively comfortable on the computer. If you're sitting in their house, pull it up on your laptop, have them do it, but make them do it, right? You don't want to do it for them. That's the only thing, and the reason is because you're not selling it. It's not insurance. It's not something that you're sold or commissioned on or anything, and the Christian sharing people don't want you to. Not that I think you could get in any trouble, because I don't think there's any law against it. They don't like it, and I don't want to irritate our golden goose.
Right. And the Christian Health Share Ministry site is chministries.org. There is
Correct.
information on it as far as the cost. There's 3 ways to pay: EFT, credit card, or monthly billing. And there's another question on the units, what that actually means. She lost audio. And then there's a question on, please explain the professional services part. Exactly what is the 1 times, 2 times policy fee schedule?
Okay. All right. So, regardless of, and one other thing I want to mention, the gentleman that asked about what's the relationship, Philadelphia American New Era, and I said they're the same company. One thing that you want to highlight to your clients is this. If they go to their doctor and say, hey, do you accept Philadelphia American or do you accept New Era health plans? The doctor's not going to have any clue who the heck they're talking about.
Right.
Insurance policy, like old school. It's not like the way it is now, right? So what is it that the client needs to be asking the doctor? Do you accept PHCS multi-plan? That they will be familiar with, right? And you can check to see that stuff right there on that New Era website. See if I have that up still. Doesn't matter, I pull it up. Oop, wrong one. Right, you can do provider search right here. Right, so Health Choice, Health Saver, you just click on it. Type in a zip code, name, doctor, hospital, whatever, and you can search to see if that doctor's a part of it. Make sure that you spell it absolutely correctly, or it will not show up. Sometimes I'll put it in there and it won't show up, and I'll go to that doctor's actual website, see that they are members of PHCS multi-plan, come back, spell it slightly different, and there they are. So you really got to make sure that the spelling's correct when it comes to that. As far as the professional services, right, you see 1 times current RBRVS schedule. All right, so what is RBRVS? That is the Medicare reimbursement rate. So whatever Medicare would pay for that particular procedure, that's what our plan will pay if you have a 1 unit. If you have 2 units, it's going to pay 2 times what Medicare will pay for that particular procedure. So here's a little bit of education, right? Medicare, doctors that accept Medicare sign a contract with the federal government, much like a doctor signs a contract with a PPO or with a UPMC or with Highmark, right? They sign a contract that says, hey, this is what we're willing to accept as payment for the services that are rendered. Well, when it comes to an indemnity plan like this, one of the things with an indemnity plan is it has to specifically say exactly what it's going to pay for every particular service. Well, that's easy when it comes to the facility. When it comes to surgeries, there's over 1.5 million different procedures, right? From a broken leg, a splinter in your eye, a pacemaker, right? Angioplasty, broken forearm, whatever. There's 1.5 million of them. So for us to specifically list all 1.5 million, the policy would be way too thick. So what we do is we just copy what Medicare pays. Now, again, Medicare doctors sign a contract with the government saying that they're willing to accept that RBRVES rate. That RBRVES rate typically reimburses a surgeon or a doctor about 70% of what is usual and customary. So his typical usual fee that he would normally charge, for example, for an appendectomy, let's say it's $1,000. Well, Medicare would reimburse that doctor about $700, and if the patient was on Medicare, they would have to accept that, right? But all the people that are buying this are under Medicare age, right? They're 62 or 57, so they're not on Medicare, so he doesn't have to accept it. So that's why we always encourage 2 units, because 2 units is going to pay 2 times RBRVS. So if you think about it, right, the doctor normally charges $1,000 to perform an appendectomy, and Medicare would normally reimburse him $700. Our 2-unit plan is going to pay $1,400 or slightly more than what is usual and customary. And if you're talking to a doctor and he's your potential client, you tell him that our plan pays 2 times RBRVS, I promise you he will be very happy and will buy the plan instantaneously, because they are really happy to get 1.5 times RBRVS. So that's your professional services. That's the schedule for the surgeon, the pathologist, the radiologist, right? Even the guy that comes in and just looks at your clipboard and says, yeah, you're alive, right? He walks in the room, it's $100, right? So we try to cover all those surgical procedures there. And I believe, Deb, did they ask about doctor visits? Was that the other question?
No, the other question was, just get these here real quick, about the units, what that means, and let's see here.
So what are units, right? It's basically like 3 different plans, right? 1 unit is our cheapest plan, our 2 unit is our midterm plan, and 3 units is our top of the line plan. Kind of like good, better, best, or bronze, silver, gold. And the prices are linear. So for example, if you was quoting somebody a 1 unit plan, right? Let's go back over here. A 251 unit plan, this particular person is going to cost $270.24. If you went with a 252 unit plan, it's $540.78. You'll notice that the difference is exactly the same. So each unit is $270. Right? So a 1 unit plan is going to pay this schedule of benefits, the ones in white. If you have 2 units, it pays twice that, right? $1,500, $3,000, $3,000, $6,000. Right, so why do we typically recommend 2 units is because 1 unit's a little bit on the light side, right? It's a little on the light side. The average hospital stays $1,500 a day. You're slightly more than the average. You don't have enough coverage there. So that's why we always recommend 2 units, especially down here on the surgical side, where we know 1 unit can be paying about 70% of what the doctor wants. So in other words, you can have about a 30% out of pocket. So again, we recommend 2 units. Any further questions about that?
There is another question, not about that, but about the first day confinement. I think, you know, I always like to share when I learn something too. I was quoting the 80% because I thought, well, gee, you know, 80% of whatever unit, that's going to be good. But yeah. I didn't realize that that's just first day only. So, you know, 20% is certainly reasonable because every other day after that is going to pay,
full benefit.
You know, the correct unit. So that was a really good point.
Yeah,
so
it just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? One, you
right.
don't go to the hospital all the time, and even if you did, the cost to bump it to 80 costs more than what the dang benefit is. So it's foolish.
Right. No, I agree. And there are other couple questions. Sarah's asking, can these products be sold to people who are already enrolled with Christian Health Share Ministries? If so,
Absolutely.
does it matter if they are gold or if they have a silver or gold?
Nope, it does not matter.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because
I bet you I've written, I don't know, 100 people that had like MediShare, and once they found out how ours worked, they switched over. People that had Christian Health Share Ministries, you know, like I said, it's a nice hospitalization coverage type program, but that's it. So, you know, once they see that we can combine these two and kind of make them work together, it just works so much better, and the affordability is still there. And they actually have insurance, right? Not just the ministry.
Right. Well, and, you know, this morning on my webinar, I talked about all those $0 bronze plans. There's more $0 bronze plans than I've seen in the last 4 years. So in that case, you could have a $0 cost ACA plan and sell either the Health Saver Plus or the Health Choice Select underneath as additional protection.
Correct. Yeah, we do that all the time, right? Now we have a gap plan, which I don't sell anymore. And the gap, it's fine. It's easy to sell because it makes sense, right? Oops, that's the gap. Yeah. Right. The gap plans, it's nice in the sense that it's easy to sell, right? It's called HealthLink Complete, and it's basically a bucket of money. So say you have a person that has a bronze plan or has a gold plan or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to pitch it, but let's say they have a $7,000 out of pocket. Well, you can sell them a $7,000 bucket of money, and this bucket of money will pay 100% of that deductible copay and coinsurance for anything inpatient and 50% for anything outpatient. And the cost is very inexpensive because it is on an underwritten chassis. And I'll utilize that as a tool. Like if somebody comes in and they have a gold plan, I'll say, listen, let me show you something. You can jump it down to a silver, increase your deductible. We can add this gap plan, save you $300 a month, and the coverage is exactly the same.
Right.
And it's simple because it's reimbursement, right? So they just reimburse. Now, the cost for it is about the same as a one-unit HSP. Right? So the cost is no different for a gap plan as it is for the one-unit HSP, right? Here. And the reason I like to do the HSP as opposed to the gap now is because the gap does not have a network associated with it. So it's all pay-per claim, where the HSP does. So you can file that claim with the HSP and it's going to pay that specific benefit, and you know it'll pay that $1,500 or $3,000 a day. And the reason I like it better is because, God forbid, they had a long hospital stay. Now all of a sudden this thing here is is paying them additional monies, right, to help them stay in their house or keep their car payment or whatever, make those kind of payments that you would not, you wouldn't have that money with a gap. So the gap's just going to cover the expense. Sorry, I got distracted here a second.
Okay.
Right, so the HSP, I just write the HSP now instead of the gap. I don't like the gap.
Okay, that makes sense to me. And Robin asks, are all benefits always paid to the policy owner or the providers?
Okay, so it's both. If they go into the doctor, they go into the hospital, they go into the surgical center, and they present their card, and that card and that provider is part of PACS multi-plan, what's going to happen is that bill is going to get generated, it's going to get sent to PHCS. PHCS is going to reprice it based upon the agreement that the surgical center or whatever signed, and then it goes to Philadelphia American and it's going to pay out its full benefit. Now, if there's more benefit than bill, Philadelphia American will send the check to the provider paying the claim in full, and any excess benefit will be paid directly to the client, income tax free. If
Nice.
there's more bill than benefit, they'll send the payment to the provider and send a balance due to the insured. Now, if you go in and you decide you want to pay cash, which I got to tell you, sometimes is better, right? Particularly for things like an MRI, where all of a sudden you're able to shop this out. Like, I'll show you a great example, right? So one of the websites that you're able to offer your clients and yourselves, and I encourage everybody to do this, and we should have the ability for you to do this week, if not early next week. Right now, we just call our office. But for example, an ankle MRI, right? So if you went to UPMC Presby and got an ankle MRI, now, UPMC Presby and Shadyside is part of our PPO. Now, they would normally bill $56.42. It gets repriced to $14.73, and then our plan pays $3.50. Right, so you're going to owe around $11.25. Okay, but if you shopped it out and you said, "Hey, Todd, where's a good place for me to get an ankle MRI done?" and you went to Centerville Commons or Monroeville Imaging Center, you can see the cash price is $3.50. So if that client goes to Monroeville Imaging Center and pays cash, the bill is going to be $3.50. Now that's a paper claim. So they're going to take a copy of the receipt with the diagnostic code on it. They're going to send it in to Philadelphia American on a paper claim. Philadelphia American's going to cut them a check for $3.50. If that client walks into Monroeville Imaging Center and hands them their PHCS multi-plan card and files it electronically, this is what they're going to get billed, the PPO price. So then that would go to PHCS multi-plan. It's going to get repriced to $14.73. Go to Philadelphia American. They're going to pay $3.50. Client owes $11.25. So again, by educating the client on how to operate this stuff, and what we just tell them is, listen, if it's an emergency, if you chopped your arm off and you're bleeding all over the place, you're not worried about price. Just go to the hospital and get it fixed. Right? But if you sprained your ankle and a doctor says, "Hey, I think you need to get an MRI," well, that's not pressing, right? You don't have to get that done that second. Right? You're not going to die if you don't get that MRI in the next 12 minutes. Stop for a second, pause, open up your phone, go onto Prater, find their best rate, or call our office and find the best rate, and then say, "Hey, I want to go to Monroeville." And then you go to Monroeville and you just pay cash. Then you would do a paper claim. So that's a little bit of the nuance, right? That can make the plan go from really good to spectacular. And that's really, where that education, that's where you as an agent are earning your commissions. You're earning them by really educating that client and becoming of value to them. Where now they want to talk to you because you're the one that has the answers. Right? You're the problem solver. Right? We all get paid to solve problems, right? Garbage men solve problems, they get paid. Doctors solve problems, they get paid. Insurance agents solve problems, we get paid.
And that Prater.us, is that on your America's Benefits site, or is that just something you can go to directly?
It's nothing that you can actually do at all right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Dr. Hennessy and I, we are trying to figure out a way to create because it's designed for what this whole Prater thing is designed for is he goes to like Alcoa, and Alcoa has 40,000 employees, and they self-insure for the first 20 million or something. So what Prater does is it gathers all that, and it helps Alcoa help their employees get services done for the best price because they're paying out of pocket for it, right? So it's designed for big companies. Well, him and I became friends, and both in free market medicine and really trying to educate people what's going on in healthcare and where all the problems are. I said, "Listen, Bill," I said, "this little thing you have with Prater would be phenomenal with what we're doing because it's giving that power to that individual. All we're trying to do is figure out how to make it where it's seamless so that if you sign up, your name goes in, it gets into their database. It only costs $60 a year, so it's cheap, right, for the whole family. So, but we have to figure out that billing mechanism so that when you sign up to join Prater, it automatically presents you a username and passcode, and Prater knows that you're a member, and like.
Oh, okay.
Right. So we're just figuring out the software part.
Gotcha.
As soon as that's done, which I'm hoping to goodness God, I hope it's done like in the next week. But yeah, that'll be as soon as it's available. Everybody that's in the whole system, every client, every agent, everybody's going to get that email.
Okay. All right. And in the meantime, I guess, well, hopefully no one will have any claims within a week. But in the meantime, then really just talk to providers about cash price versus, average cost. Or, ask what the cash price would be.
Yeah, and like, you get a copy of the presentation, like this information's in there.
Okay.
This is the presentation right here. So you use it as a tool to teach and explain to your clients, and then tell them that they'll have access to that here in a very short period of time. If not, just call our office. We'll be glad to walk them through it.
Okay.
The other thing too is Karis does that, right? So Karis will do that as well, but Karis takes 2 days. Right, so you call Karis and you say, hey, Karis, I need to get blood work. Right, they'll shop it out for you. Where's it at? Right, Karis will shop it out for you, but it's a 2-day turnaround, 2-3-day turnaround. Right, so what Prater's nice for is you can just pull it up on your phone and do it right then and there.
Well, when you let that or get that figured out, we'll all know.
Okay.
Susan has a question on how the Christian Health Share Ministry plan works in combination with these plans. I think more logistically, not, coverage-wise.
Okay, so here's how it works, right? So most of the time, the indemnity plan at a 2 unit is going to have more benefit than bill anyway. So there's no use for Christian Ministries whatsoever, other than keeping you out of the penalty box. Now, let's say you had a big claim, right? $30,000 claim, and for some reason, the indemnity plan, let's say it paid out $20,000. Right? So you have all this paperwork, right? $30,000 a bill, Philadelphia American paid $20,000. There's $10,000 of unpaid medical expenses. At that point in time, you go onto the Christian Sharing Ministry, you pull up their claim form, you write down, what happened, you attach the billing statement from the hospital or surgical center, whatever it was, and it'll say, okay, you owe $30,000. You'll attach that Philadelphia American has already paid $20,000 towards this claim, so that covers the $5,000 personal responsibility for Christian Sharing. You send that off to Christian Sharing. They'll contact the hospital and say, okay, we still owe you $10,000. Will you take $7,000? Right? Hospital says, yeah, we'll take $7,000. Christian Sharing pays off the $7,000. You're done. So it's not very difficult. If that should happen, again, this is all part of that, making sure your clients understand, what I tell every client of mine. The first year in particular, if you're going to set up a doctor's appointment, before you do it, call our office. We'll tell you how to do it the right way, because you're not going to remember this 6 months from now. If you need to get an MRI or a mammogram, call our office. We'll walk you through it. Right?
Okay.
If it's an emergency and you chopped your arm off, just go to the hospital. Don't worry about it. It'll be taken care of. Right? So if you can, baby step your client through the first year, typically they're fine for the remainder.
Okay.
I make it very blatantly important to them. It's, listen, I don't care what it is. Just call our office first. Call me. I'll answer. I have no problem answering. Say, oh yeah, just go to your doctor or whatever.
Okay. And the Health Share Ministry is $45 per person per month. It's capped at 3 people per family.
Correct.
So that is the cost of it.
Yeah, 45 a unit. Husband unit, wife unit, kids plural unit.
Right. Okay. All right, those are all the questions right now. You want to continue on?
Sure. All right, so we talked about Health Saver. We talked about the Health Choice. Accident brochure, pretty simple. We always add this to every plan because, the ER benefit of being only $200 is, $200 on the Health Saver, $300 on the Health Choice. And I just tell folks, and this is how, the best way to do it. Remember, this is an indemnity plan. If I put $2,000 in this indemnity plan box for the emergency room, and you went to the ER because you had a hangnail, our policy would have to pay $2,000. So you can imagine how many of you out there in the world that would have this policy would end up with a hangnail every single year, which would pay out $2,000 and would drive the cost up for everybody. So on purpose, we leave it at $200 to prevent that. Now, most people go to the emergency room for one of two reasons. You're either having a heart attack or a stroke, or you just fell off your roof putting up Christmas lights. That's why we always add our accident plan. 82% of all claims are accident related. Our plan will pay up to $4,000 per incident. And it doesn't matter if it's an accident or an injury. That is extremely unique. Most accident plans only cover accidents. Right? So we had a guy that was doing push-ups, for goodness sakes, and tore his rotator cuff. That's an injury. Our plan paid. Right? The lady got bit by a spider. It paid. Right? And of course, if you slip and fall and break your ankle, that's paid as well. Very affordable. $31 for a single, $56 for a husband and wife, $69 for a family and kids, and $94 for everybody. Pays up to $4,000 per incident, $100,000 of accidental death, $10,000 of ground air ambulance, which we know that helicopter ride is a pricey ride, as well as a $300 per day income benefit for every day that you're in the hospital due to an accident, and some dismemberment benefits as well. There's a optional rider that you can do. I am poor at this. I rarely even bring it up, but I probably should because it's an affordable little thing. 2 occupation types, right? Desk jockey or field jockey. 1 unit or 2 units for 1 or 2 years. You can get $100, $1,000 or $2,000 a month for 1 or 2 years. Again, I don't use it very often. I probably should more, but that's a creature of habit. That's the accident plan. The other one we sell a ton of is the critical illness. I love this plan because it's 2 bucket. So if you have a 50,000 CI with us, you have 50,000 of CI, you're going to have 50,000 in the cancer bucket and an additional 50,000 in the heart bucket. Pretty affordable. Can add children up to 10,000, right? So for dependent kids, guaranteed renewable all the way up to 75, which is pretty good. So that's another policy that almost every single app, and a lot of times they'll offer. When Carrie was talking about the trip going to Ireland, right? Their trips are off the chart. We typically have a big convention, and then we have a Vegas convention. So every year there's something, right? It's either the big trip or Vegas. And Doc Chen really does go all out, man. There's no expense spared. They give you spending money and little gifts and treats and big welcome receptions and phenomenal food, and they're great. But one of the cool things is if you're doing an e-app, which is another reason why you never do a paper app, because not only can you not follow it inside the system, it's easily submitted and trackable, but when you do an e-app, if you write it as a trifecta, which is kind of what we try to package so everything, right? HST, accident, and CI. Even if you put 10,000 of CI on it, right? Very little, like $12 or something. And I just tell clients, listen, you may not want it, but I strongly encourage you to keep at least 10,000. Well, when you do, you actually get an additional 50% credit towards the trips. So it's a nice little incentive to package sell all 3 of them and do it on an e-app. Okay. Dental. my story with dental is actually kind of funny. People would ask me about buying dental insurance for 20 years. And my pat answer was, if you buy a dental plan, you're an idiot. Because to me, it was dollar in, dollar out. It's like, why buy this? Just pay cash, right? So last year, my wife needs some crowns, and she says, hey, it's going to cost $1,150 to get this crown. I'm like, wonderful. I'm so excited. Not that I wanted to hear more than having to come up with $1,150 for a crown. Anyway, I come to the office and I'm complaining about it. I got to come up with this $11.50 for this crown. Not that it was a big deal, but just, you know, how you guys moan about this stuff. Anyway, one of our new agents was here and she says, "Oh, Todd, you ought to look at our dental plan." And I'm thinking, you know, they're stupid. They're all the same, right? And not to mention, it's pre-existing. Like, she needs it like in 3 weeks. They're not going to cover anything. She goes, "Oh no, you ought to look." So I actually do look. And the cool thing about it is one, it's inexpensive. I mean, you get a whole family for $50, you know, $50, $60, right? I think we're area code 3, you know, $57 for an enhanced one that pays up to $2,000, which is $500 more than almost any other plan I've ever seen. And your diagnostic and preventative is covered right off the get-go, 100%. So that's your dollar in, dollar out. And like I thought, you know, the big stuff, there's no coverage. You can see the big goose egg there for the first year. Well, this is what makes this nice. It's a hybrid. So it has insurance benefits, but it comes with this PPO. So I go and I see that the PPO benefits are available even if there's no insurance benefit right off the get-go. So I go into the PPO and I type in crown, and the cost for the crown through the PPO is only $5.25. So guess who bought a dental plan? Right? So I buy my first dental plan, and it's been great because she's actually needed a whole bunch of other work done. This thing's paid out wonderful. It saved a ton because of the PPO repricing, and it's, well, we've blown through the 2,000, but you know, it's certainly been nice and it's very affordable. So I will add this. It's a nice little hybrid plan. So you get PPO pricing. It comes with some eye discounts and hearing discounts, you know, just like any other discount. But it's a nice little policy. Accident, health, short, Okay. I typically have the client sign some kind of an attestation. Right? This is a limited benefit policy, not a major medical plan. There's a 12-month pre-existing. Right? And again, this is just kind of a CYA. Okay. So that's kind of all the brochures. We've gone through this. You know, please download this. Like, showing these claims is extremely important. I don't know if you've seen this one. This here is like the worst claim that you can have, right? And I'll tell folks, every health insurance plan has a hole. Every one. I don't care who it is, where it is, every single one of them has a hole. The question is, where do you want it? Right, if I buy a UPMC plan at the age of 60, and I want the best of the best of the best, and I go and I buy a platinum plan, right, the Cadillac of Cadillacs. It only has a $250 deductible, only has $1,500 out-of-pocket maximum. Like, and I'll ask the client, where's the hole? And they'll look at me and like, I don't know. I'll ask everybody on the call, where's the hole at? Right? You have a platinum plan, where's the hole? And I'm thinking there for a second. Well, it's very simple. Right? For a 60-year-old, it's going to cost you $1,578 a month. That's a pretty big hole. Because especially if you're not going to the doctor or going to the hospital or having brain surgery or whatever, you're forking out $1,500 a month. That's a hole. So where do you want your hole, right? So our plan, we've covered all the major stuff, the things that we're concerned about, the surgical, right? We have the catastrophic with the Christian sharing. We got you out of the penalty box. We have some nice surgical benefits. If you have a heart attack, right, we got big check coming. We cover the accident. Where's the hole with our plan? Well, if you ended up in the ER, and if you end up in the ER, we're going to pay $200. Now, if you were admitted to the hospital, this benefit's kicking in, right? If you had surgery, this benefit's kicking in. You're good. If you had an accident and you went to the ER, we got you covered. You have a critical illness, we got you covered. If you go to the ER because you have a bad case of itchy, like I had one client went to the ER because they were itchy, it's going to pay $200. My son actually had one of these scenarios. You see his name there, Thomas Marley. Right, so what happened with Tommy? My wife called me frantic. Tommy was having a stroke. Half of his face wasn't working. She's flipping out. So I fly home like a nut, man. I'm thinking my 20-year-old's having a stroke. Oh my gosh, right? So I go home and I'm looking at him, and I didn't think he was having a stroke, even though half of his face wasn't working. Like his eye didn't work, his mouth didn't work. Even the lines going across his forehead stopped halfway across his face and became smooth like a baby's butt. Like it was amazing. Here he got bit by a tick. The tick caused some inflammation in his face, caused Bell's palsy. Half of his face became paralyzed, and we go to the ER. So what I'm pointing out here is this is the worst. This is the whole, right? You end up in the ER. You're not admitted. You're not having surgery. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a critical illness. That's the whole. Well, we know worst case scenario, no matter what the claim was, Christian sharing is going to cover everything over $5,000. So worst case scenario, you got a $5,000 hole. And we're still paying benefit, right? We're paying $70 for the lab, $350 for the CT scan, $200 for the ER, $15 for the drug, and $70 for the EKG. Our plan paid out about $700. So again, this is just being educated. Bills for $4,095. If I ran it through the PPO, it's going to get repriced at about 40 to 50% off. So let's just call it $2,400. Plan pays $700. My son would have owed $1,700. In other words, Dad would have owed $1,700. So when I went in, they asked me his name, Thomas Marley. Who's his insurance with? I said he's cash. Doesn't have any. Why? Can I do that? Well, this isn't an ACA plan. I don't have to provide this. And I wanted to see what a cash claim looked like, because I always can run it through the PPO, right? If this cash came back and it was unsatisfactory to me, I run it through the PPO and then get the PPO discount. And I know that PPO discount's could be around $2,400, and I knew this was going to pay about $7,000, so I was okay, $1,700. Let's see what a cash claim is. By just saying he was cash, that $4,000 bill was discounted $2,907 to $1,187. Our plan paid $700. He owed $487.55. That's our whole. Right, so that's just having this presentation and being able to explain, how these claims are. And Carrie has more claims than I have on this. Like there's a doctor visit, right? $240. The actual cost was $81. Our plan paid $125. Covered the claim in full. Actually cut my daughter a check for $44. Right? Having that and really being able to make that make sense, driving that home and connecting the dots with your client is the key. It's the key. It's not even sales. It's education. Any other questions on this stuff?
We'll look at some of the questions, but can you talk about the age limits? I was doing a quote for a person that will be 65 in July.
Unavailable. So, right? You have to be, in order to purchase the plan, you have to be 64 and 364 days old or younger.
Right.
All right. So once you're 65, it's too late.
Right, and he's still 64 until July of 18, so it allowed me to quote him and give him a rate. Mm-hmm. With the ACA plans, they can apply before they're 65, and they can stay on the plans after 65, as long as they make application prior. Are the consumers that turn 65 off of these plans once they turn 65?
Yeah, once you're 65, you should be going on to Medicare. Right, so that's why it's a perfect little lead-in. Then you write your meds up.
Okay. And can you talk also a little bit more about the pre-existing?
Pre-existing condition clause, right? So our pre-existing condition clause is a 1-year pre-ex. So I'll pull it up here in a second. Right. That. There. All right, so our pre-existing condition clause is anything that you've been treated for, tested for, or taken medication for in the previous 12 months will have no insurance benefit for the following 12 months. Then it will be covered in full as if you never had it. You're always eligible for the PPO benefit. 90% of the time, this has no bearing on anything other than the guy that's taking lisinopril for high blood pressure, or taking Zocor for cholesterol, or taking some maintenance medication. So what does that mean for the guy that's on high blood pressure? Well, It means that you're still going to get your discounted price for the RX. It just means that we're not going to pay this $10 or $20 for the first year. So it's usually not that big a deal. Typically, if you have any kind of a heftier pre-X, more than likely you're not getting the policy anyway, right? If you had a heart attack 6 months ago, you're not getting it anyway because it's underwritten, you're not going to qualify, right? You got cancer, 4 years ago, you're not qualifying anyway. I've seen it apply for, sometimes a kid will have asthma. It won't cover asthma for the first year. Typically at that point in time, I'm throwing them on ACA anyway. So it usually doesn't come into effect very often. In fact, really the only time I ever see it come into effect is right there for the prescriptions for the first year.
Okay. Have some other questions, and they all stem from the $5,000 per incident, $125,000 for the Christian Health Share Ministry. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. All right. So the way the Christian ministry works, pull up that screen, right, is that you have $100,000, 100% of hospitalization or surgical costs up to $125,000 per incident, right? So that's not per person per year, it's per incident. And it has a $5,000 personal responsibility per incident. So let's assume all you had was this, right? And you fell down the stairs and broke your ankle and the bill was $4,600. Well, that's an incident. Falling down the stairs, breaking your ankle. The bill's $4,600. It's less than $5,000. So you're on the hook for 100% of it. With us, the way we designed it, your indemnity plan is going to be paying your accident and all that stuff, so it doesn't matter. So what does that mean? It means that the incident itself, for them to even be in the running, right, even to be in consideration for anything, the incident itself has to be more than $5,000. Which means, like if you had a heart attack in December, ER, a couple days in a hospital, intensive care, whatever, outpatient treatment, 6 months later you're going to the cardiologist, that incident. I don't care if it's over a year or two, but that incident, let's say the bill was $100,000. Well, now this qualifies, right, because it's over 5. And the indemnity plan is going to be paying. So it paid $3,000 a day every day that you're in a hospital. It paid $4,500 a day every day that you're in the ICU. It paid, $60, $80, whatever it was for your doctor visits. Let's say that $100,000 claim for that incident, the indemnity plan paid out $80,000. Right, so you still have $20,000 of unpaid medical expenses. So if the indemnity plan paid $80,000, that $80,000 was paid on your behalf. It's no different than you paid it, right? The indemnity plan, you own the indemnity plan is paying the $80,000. That $80,000 satisfies this $5,000 personal responsibility. So whether you paid it out of your own pocket or the indemnity plan paid it for you, it counts towards this $5,000. So if you had a $100,000 claim and the indemnity plan paid $80,000, there's $20,000 of unpaid medical expenses. That $20,000 of unpaid medical expenses can be shared at 100% with the ministry because the $5,000 personal responsibility was satisfied by the $80,000 paid out by the indemnity plan. Hope that makes it clear.
It does. This benefit, the Christian Health Share Ministry, is for hospitalization only.
Hospitalization and surgical.
And surgical. And Dana says that the dental does not cover Western PA zips according to the brochure.
Yeah, it does. I have it. I'm in Western PA.
Right. That's what I thought. Well, I knew you were in Western PA, so I didn't think you'd sell yourself a plan that you wasn't eligible.
150 to 151, 152 to 154, 155 to 156.
There you go. All right.
153.
So those are all the questions so far. I don't know if you have anything else to share, Todd.
I'd be happy to share anything, right? So, that's the nuts and bolts. And I got to tell you, the only way to do it is just do it. Fumble around, stagger, fumble. Remember, just like when you became a new agent, right? Yeah, you went out and you talked to people about life insurance or something. You didn't know your rear end from a hole in the ground, but you knew more than the client. You just fumble around until you figure it out. Listen to the presentation that I do. Listen to it a bunch of times. I got guys that literally transcribed it. And I think that's a great idea because it becomes ingrained. Now you'll make it your own flavor, but you know, it's a spot on presentation. It's going to work. It's going to cover everything that you need to cover. So listen to it multiple times.
Okay.
And practice it. Just do it. Right? Just do it. I think once you have a client that comes walking into your office that's paying $1,500 a month, and you're able to show them that you can give them adequate coverage for, $700 or $800, and all of a sudden you write that deal at $800 and you make, $3,000 on it or whatever, you're happy. Everybody's happy. The keys is making sure that they feel I always tell folks, nobody went bankrupt due to the flu. Right? We buy health insurance not for hiccups, nosebleeds, and sniffles. We buy it for heart attacks, cancers, and strokes. We buy it for hospitalizations and surgeries and things like that. So once that they feel comfortable that, with the, surgical and physician's benefits plus the Christian sharing ministry, once they understand that concept that, if they have a big time hospital stay, that they're going to be covered adequately and not get killed, the rest of it becomes easy. Right? So I'll always, after I go through it, I'll say, okay, so let's recap, right? This is your hospital, surgical, somewhere here, one of these screens, hospital, surgical, and then I show the Christian sharing screen, catastrophic. Right? So I make sure that they get that part.
I also found, at least for my purposes, it does become a little bit more clear when you upload the software for quoting and you go through it with your brochure. It really does kind of come across as an a la carte sort of sales process, and I think that's going to help. Carrie did message me. She has something to add about prescriptions. So Carrie, if you can you.
Yep, am I unmuted?
You are there.
Okay. I just wanted to mention too, and I was doing a little running around, so I'm not sure if I missed it, but with the prescriptions, that is the one time when you need to pay in advance and be reimbursed by the insurance company. Did you mention that, Todd?
No, I didn't. Yeah, that's the only one that is not electronic.
Okay.
Right. So if you go to pick up a prescription, there's the script save card that comes with the policy that everybody gets. So you can either use that discount card or the GoodRx discount card to kind of look up and shop around a little bit for your medications to see which pharmacy near you would have the best price. A lot of times, let's say like Walmart could be $25 less than your local pharmacy or like your supermarket pharmacy. So it's definitely worth looking into. So you can get the discount at the point of service, and then all you would need to do is keep your receipt showing that you paid along with that little bag tag that shows what the medication was, write the policy number on the receipt, and submit it for reimbursement, and then they will send you back the money.
Okay. All right, let's see, before we close it up, if there are any more questions. It does not, let me see. Susan wants the rules in writing, but Susan, I will get you that information. And that's it. Those are all the questions. Todd or Carrie, did you have anything final that you wanted to add that you think would be beneficial?
Yeah, I do. I mean, so the key, right, is having people to see. Yeah, the greatest product on the sun, right? You can have the greatest widget there is, but if nobody knows that you have the greatest widget, it doesn't matter. Right? So we can help with marketing. I have contracts with radio companies and internet companies and things like that to help provide good quality leads. We have all kinds of little scripts and radio personalities and images and stuff that you can use on social media, all that kind of stuff. So we can help with that as well. So marketing is key. What we found is 45 to 64, typically conservative in nature, small business owner. Those are all good markets. That's one thing. The other is I recently got Deb, I sent you that information on the alternative for those that are no longer, that aren't Christian, right, or that use tobacco. Do you want me to speak on that at all, or do you want to save that for another day?
I'd say let's save it for another day. I think this is a lot to digest since it's kind of out of the realm of, you know, quote unquote insurance. But it is a product that URL is licensed with, and we're going to be getting that information out. I'm happy to talk to you on the one-offs if you have folks that do smoke tobacco or chew tobacco or that are of other faiths other than Christian. But we're going to ease into that. And I also think that Todd made a really good point about the marketing. You know, he has all these promotions or marketing things available, marketing tools available to you. And I remember from our first webinar, and you probably do too, when Todd talked about the fact that he sells probably even more of these programs in February, March, April, when people are getting very sick of paying, you know, $2,000 for a health plan. So imagine this in February when things die down, sending something out. Are you tired of paying $2,000 a month? Are you tired of paying your ACA premiums? You know, I think there's a lot of ways that you can work this because it's not just stopping on 12/15. These products will be available all year round. So I'm happy that we have the product.
Yeah, it keeps you busy and it sets you apart. It brings distinction. I think that's the term that we always like to use, right? It's your difference that brings you distinction. And it does. It sets you apart, and then it really sets you up, too, for other things, right? It sets you up because a lot of the folks that you're going to be talking to are going to be aging in, right? They're aging into Medicare, and I'm sure every one of you have Medicare contracts and, you know, right to supplements and whatnot. So it does. It sets you apart. I can't tell you. I bet you we collected, I would venture to say, somewhere around 4 or 5 million worth of annuity business just from the health insurance clients that we helped because we were so different, right? We spent an hour and a half educating them on health insurance, which nobody does, right? No health insurance guy does that. They spend 5 seconds.
Well,
right?
and
you want this plan or this plan? So it does.
Yeah, and with commissions being paid, you can afford to have those more consultative sales calls.
Right. That's why we encourage you to do it online. My gosh, I got to tell you, it's almost odd when someone comes in the office and I got to do a face-to-face presentation for the health. Like I'm almost discombobulated. It's not as easy. It's so easy over the computer. We've been so busy this year that every Monday I actually do group ones. I'll have 10, 15, 20 people on a group webinar. I'll do the presentation. They call back into Carrie and she'll set half-hour appointments with every one of them because they all heard it.
Wow.
Just boom, 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 bust them out in an afternoon. So there's a lot of things you can do when you're able to get good at communicating over the phone and using a PowerPoint presentation and being able to answer questions. And the people are comfortable, right? They're sitting at their own home. They're kicking back. They're, you know, got their feet up after a day's work or whatever. It's nice.
Well, and if we've learned anything from last year, even with the tax penalty still standing, people are going to purchase what they want and what they can afford. And, you know, those unsubsidized folks are still faced with huge premiums, and the alternative and reality is they're going to find something anyway, whether they're subject to the tax penalty or not. So why not? Why not be that agent that helps them do this? You're not doing any harm and you're earning an income, which is unusual in the individual market these days. So, all right, well, it doesn't look like we have any more questions. Todd or Carrie, if you don't need to add anything else, then we'll close it up.
Sounds like a good idea.
All right. Well,
good luck to all of you, and happy selling.
Thank you. Thank you, Carrie, and thank you, Todd. For all of you on the call, I will email you supporting information on the sites and some of the things we talked about today. But I thank you so much for joining in, and I say happy selling as well. Let's get this ball rolling. So thanks, everyone. Have a great
Thank you.
afternoon. Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, bye guys.